Antibiotic use in livestock. In this presentation, I will cover the history of why farmers started using antibiotics, the possible risk behind the use of antibiotics, and also the possible solutions to prevent these problems. In the early 1900s, farmers made up the minority of the American population, but were expected to produce food for the majority. This led to the products being expensive, which caused national boycotts and riots. By accident, antibiotics were given to animals and had amazing impacts on boosting the growth and overall health of the animals. During the time, the need for meat was seen as a bigger concern than the possible health risk that could arise from the overuse of antibiotics. The risk associated with the overuse of antibiotics is that a superbug resistant to the common antibiotics will not be able to be treated in the future. The treatment of bacterial disease now is to give an antibiotic to a patient, which is expected to kill all of the harmful organisms. However, sometimes there can be a mutant in the population that is resistant and able to survive. Over time, the mutant is able to reproduce, and its resistance is passed on to its offspring, which will make up a whole new population. Whenever antibiotics are used too often, this type of evolution is more likely to happen. If someone is to get infected with this bacteria, treatment will be more difficult and maybe even impossible. The solutions to cutting back the risk of overusing antibiotics mainly focuses on three categories. One solution is for scientists and pharmaceutical companies to research different types of treatments that will be able to kill bacteria rather than only using antibiotics. This method of prevention will allow doctors to be able to handle the situation before it becomes a bigger threat. The problem with this is that there is currently a lack of funding for the research, and possibly there is not enough time if no other preventative methods are taken. Another solution is to completely eliminate the use of antibiotics in raising of animals for food and also to have more open spaces for the animals to live in. Some believe that this will lead to a better well-being for the animals, even though the proof isn't entirely accurate. The evolution of agriculture to what it is now was done in gradual steps that put the needs of animals and workers first. The separate pens for animals ensure that each one is fed adequately and given proper treatment if needed. The cost of changing back to free-range and antibiotic-free would not only be monetary, but also take up space and lower the efficiency of farming. The third solution is a more moderate approach to increase regulations on antibiotic use. There are already many laws undergoing approval in order to cut back the overuse of antibiotics and ensure the safety of the animals. This method also requires the least amount of funding and will maintain the prices of meat. The laws recently put in place require veterinary prescriptions for antibiotic use in livestock and also careful tracking of which animals were treated. A combination of these laws as well as medical research will allow for enough time for treatment to be found and for the prices of meat to remain how they are.
Created using Powtoon.